Yes, indeed. We don't fit in their clown world. A expose, which is in 3 parts, and it all connects together. Here's the next portion of tonight's show, and it starts in Colombia. On April 6th, 1984, a group of men dressed in police uniforms arrived at the home of Mercedes Contento in the town of Villota in Colombia. Now, Contento was a peasant, communist, and member of the Patriotic Union, which was a newly formed experimental political party born out of the 1985 peace negotiations between the conservative President Belauncio Betancourt and the guerrillas of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, the FARC guerrillas, who need to FARC off. Now, the men seized Contento, tied him up and dragged him away, and the next day his corpse was found in a nearby village, H&C. And the murder of Mercedes Contento marked the beginning of a nearly 2-decade extermination campaign. From 1984 to 2002, at least 4,153 UP members, including 2 presidential candidates, 14 parliamentarians, 15 mayors, 9 mayoral candidates, 3 members of the House of Representatives, and 3 senators were murdered or disappeared in what a Colombian court deemed was a political genocide. I think you all know who's connected to that. Well, maybe we'll find another link. Now, according to data presented to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the Purge claimed more than 6,000 victims through murders, disappearances, torture, forced displacement, and other human rights violations. And from May 1984 to December 2002, not a month passed without a murder or disappearance of a UP member. In the 2002 elections that brought Alvaro Uribe to power, the Patriotic Union had been so thoroughly wiped out that it failed to meet the electoral threshold, and the government removed the party's legal status. But according to recent investigations by renowned Colombian journalist Alberto Donadillo, the extermination of the Patriotic Union was devised by Betancourt's successor, President Virgilio Barco Vargas, and was implementing a plan concocted by one of the most decorated spies in Israeli history, Rafael Rafi Eitan. And the revelations underscore the pivotal relationship that has developed between Israel and Colombia. The United States are respective top allies in the Middle East and Latin America. And with the common theme of the CIA and drugs involvement is why, and it's got zero to do with the countries supporting each other in safety. Allies in their world means partners in crime. Now, both countries are testing grounds for military weapons and strategies that have long been exported around the world. And following the success of the US government's Plan Colombia in debilitating the FARC guerrilla movement, it has been hailed as an exportable counter-insurgency model to be applied from Mexico to Afghanistan. Now, Israel, for its part, maintains the world's largest repression and weapons testing laboratories in the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip, where it has a captive population of several millions of Palestinians, and now they're starting on their own so-called people, not just the Palestinians. But through the presence of Rafi Eitan in Colombia, the burgeoning alliance of junior partners of the US empire deepened. And despite a series of scandals, the Israeli-Colombia relationship has only grown stronger over the years. And under President Ivan Duque, the two countries have renewed ties, and Israeli military personnel have trained their Colombian counterparts in counter-terrorism, which is another euphemism for spying on the people and getting rid of dissenters or groups blocking their criminal paths. Yet the systematic murder of the UP remains one of the most extreme cases of political violence in Latin America, and the scale of killing is especially striking because, unlike many of the bloodiest US-backed regimes of the 1980s, Colombia never became a dictatorship. But the killing of the UP, known amongst its perpetrators as El Baile Roco, the Red Dance, took place in an ostensibly democracy. Yes, social democracy, which is Zionism. And the Red Dance means blood killings. Such evilness in our midst only now is fully emerging into the light. And that report is all very Operation Condor to me. On that occasion, the P2 Lodge and the CIA were involved. But I think they were hiding in the background of that as well. So who is Rafi Eitan? Now, Eitan was involved in Israeli espionage since the establishment of the state, and is primarily remembered for capturing the Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann in Argentina. However, he also played a central role in several of Mossad's most unsavory operations. Eitan once remarked that all intelligence work is a partnership with crime. Morals are put aside. Indeed. In 1965, Eitan advised Moroccan King Hassan II on how to abduct and murder the leftist politician Mehdi Ben Barka. So Israel were in with Morocco as well as Colombia, and maybe explains the Moroccan quarter at the Jerusalem site. It's all connected in some way. Now, in 1983, Mossad mission in the United States, Eitan disguised himself as an assistant prosecutor in the Israeli Ministry of Justice and met with the inventor of the PROMIS surveillance software, PROMIS. And after a visit to the Department of Justice, Eitan obtained the software and had an Israeli working in Silicon Valley install a backdoor in the program. One has to ask, where were the CIA, FBI, DHS and NSA when this was all unfolding? It is yet again staggering oversight and rank incompetence at best, or worse, they were in on it. Now, should the latter be the case, all government funding for those organisations should be suspended and those organisations disbanded. And we can start again with 3 agencies, domestic, international and cyber, all operating for and by the people of this country, not some tin pot fake dictatorship state in the South Mediterranean. So who else was involved in that? Fellow Mossad agent Robert Maxwell, father of Ghislaine Maxwell, child sex trafficker and partner of Jeffrey Epstein. He sold the PROMIS technology to dozens of countries around the world, including Colombia. And this gave Israel unfettered access to intelligence. The program collected in every country that was using it, whether they were friend and foe alike. Now, the reality is Israel has no friends. None. They do not make friends. Only people and countries they can use and manipulate. Now, in 1985, ITAN initiated a spying operation on Israel's top ally, the United States. And ITAN's team recruited Jonathan Pollard, who was born too, and was an American Naval Intelligence Service analyst who went on to deliver 800 classified military intelligence documents relating to military capabilities of Arab states, Pakistan, and the Soviet Union. Now, the term Naval Intelligence Service is likely the SSP, the Secret Space Program. It's not new. Trump didn't announce nothing new. It's been going a long time. They have ran it since the Majestic 12 was appointed, 1940s, and possibly earlier. Now, Seymour Hersh, who was also born to, reported that the documents of US intelligence capabilities were passed on to the Soviet Union in exchange for the release of Soviet Jews. Now, Hersh, to be fair, did report many of the crimes going on around the world at the time, including the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, Clinton's bombing of Sudan's pharmaceutical plant, which supplied over half of the medicines of that country, Iran, Iraq, and other outings that led him to be labelled as a conspiracy theorist. But according to declassified CIA damage assessments, ITAN urged Pollard to obtain material on signals intelligence and dirt on Israeli political figures and any information that would identify Israeli officials who were providing information to the United States, and any information on US intelligence operations targeted against Israel. And according to a court document, Pollard refused some of ITAN's requests because he suspected that ITAN would use such studies for improper political blackmail. That is a classic agency tactic, that. Political blackmail is their forte. Now, the discovery of the spying operation landed Pollard in prison, and US federal prosecutors named ITAN as one of the 4 co-conspirators, but declined to file charges, just like Epstein and several others of Jewish connections, like the dancing Israelis on the bridge, remember? And with ITAN at the centre of a national embarrassment, he returned to Israel, never to set foot again in the US, allegedly. But nevertheless, ITAN's elite status ensured he landed in a comfortable position in the 1970s, as he had served as deputy to the psychopath Ariel Sharon, and then National Security Advisor to the Crime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Now, Sharon was a general in the army then, arranged for ITAN to be appointed as president of Israeli Chemicals, which was the largest state-owned company in the country, and this new position left ITAN with ample free time to leverage his experience in black ops into a position as a clandestine national security advisor to Colombia's President Vargas. And with the Patriotic Union beginning to coalesce into a formidable political party, Barco looked for any way to stop them, and Aiton's lifetime of experience waging war against the Palestinian peasant population made him the perfect man for the job. Yet another seedy tale of agency clans and their heinous deeds. Now, they mentioned the PROMIS software, and here is the story for that. PROMIS, Prosecutors Management Information System, was a case management software developed by INS Law, formerly the Institute for Law and Social Research, which was a non-profit organisation that was established in 1973 by Bill and Nancy Hamilton. Now, Bill formerly worked for the NSA for 6 years. And the software program was developed with aid from the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration to aid prosecutors, officers in tracking. And in 1982, INS Law became a for-profit entity. Now, INS Law received a $10 million contract by the Justice Department to develop an improved PROMIS application for U.S. attorneys' offices. This was a justice software system only. It developed into a whole heap more. Now, Hamilton, having previously developed a 16-bit version of PROMIS, INS Law developed a 32-bit version for various operating systems, specifically VAX, Unix, IBM's AS400, and in the 1990s, Windows NT. And the Hamiltons and the Justice Department then engaged in a bitter contract dispute over the software, and INS Law entered bankruptcy. It's how they work. But the Hamiltons sued the federal government, alleging that the Justice Department had dishonestly conspired to drive INS Law out of business through trickery, fraud, and deceit by withholding payments to INS Law and then pirating the software. Core pirating. And a bankruptcy court and federal district court agreed with the Hamiltons, although these rulings were later vacated by a court of appeals for jurisdictional reasons. Funny how they use that. Yet again, taking a piece of paper to a gunfight. Now, Hamilton and others asserted that the Justice Department had done so in order to modify PROMIS, originally created to manage legal cases, to becoming a monitoring software for intelligence operations. Now, affidavits created over the course of the INS Law affair stated that PROMIS was then given or sold at a profit to Israel and as many as 80 other countries by Earl W. Bryan, a man with close personal and business ties to President Ronald Reagan and the Presidential Counsel Edwin Meese. Yes, Reagan was in on it. In September 1992, a House Judiciary Committee report raised serious concerns that Justice Department officials had schemed to destroy INS Law and co-opted the rights to its PROMIS software and had misappropriated the software. Now, the report was the outgrowth of a 3-year investigation led by Jack Brooks, the committee's chairman, who had launched an investigation in 1989. And the report faulted the Justice Department for the lack of cooperation in the investigation and found out that there appears to be strong evidence, as indicated by the findings in 2 federal court proceedings, as well as by the committee investigation, that the Department of Justice acted willfully and fraudulently and took, converted and stole Inslaw's enhanced promise by trickery, fraud and deceit. A book written in 1997 by Fabrizio Calvi and Thierry Feister claimed that the NSA had been seeding computers abroad with PROMIS-embedded smart chips. Smart means systems management automated reasoning tools. Codenamed Petri. Into the Petri dish we go. Capable of covertly downloading data and transmitting it using electrical wiring as an antenna to US intelligence satellites as part of an espionage operation. I'll repeat that again. The NSA has been seeding computers abroad with PROMIS-embedded smart systems management automated reasoning tool chips, codenamed Petri, capable of covertly downloading data and transmitting it using electrical wiring as an antenna to US intelligence satellites as part of an espionage operation. So the smart system are chips embedded to spy on you.